Moving. It's such a huge chore. I mean, you have to attach plaques to the coffins, then drag them around the chamber to their new location. And don't even get me started on funeral families and their petty squabbles about corpse placement. This week, from the glorious tome known as the Internet, we will be hearing about The Staring Neighbor, a NoSleep written by Avium, 1998. With every night bringing a curtain of darkness, I intuitively closed the ones in our bedroom. This night, just as I was about to draw them, I could feel a bleeding stare, which brought a jolt to my system like a pinched nerve. Circular rimmed glasses and a red flannel. The man across the way had no visible hands, but instead extended lumps at the area of his pockets. His cold eyes were fixed onto my presence. I quickly glanced at my wife behind me, who was fast asleep in our bed. I then, again, looked through our bedroom window. I stiffly gave a thumbs up at his lack of gesture, but there was no reciprocating motion. The total lack of emotion from the not-so-gentleman buried a pang of despair into the pit of my stomach. All this stretched across a house-side lane. Slumping into the mattress, I brought the covers up to my immediate grasp. At that moment, I was obviously trying to change my train of thought. Who designed the white bumps on the ceiling, I wonder? But every time I would sit up, his eyes would meet mine. It was just that, the entire night. Though my wife had no trouble dreaming away, I did not slumber that first night. My name was Craven James Oliver, but people called me KJ. I lived in a charming home with my wife, Janine. The whole staring neighbor thing started about a month after we moved into the house. Within our first week, we had met every one of our neighbors whilst familiarizing ourselves with the neighborhood. All of them, except one. It was the neighbors in the house to our left. We had thought it was strange right away. There were certainly people living in there, at least for the time being, but nobody ever left. No vehicles ever visiting or emerging from the house. Behind a for sale sign, firmly planted into the grass at the very front of the property, was a large, overgrown hedge that draped around the entire residence. Only the second floor was exposed. It was as if no one seemed willing to talk about that one strange house. Whenever me or my wife tried bringing it up in conversation, the subject was quickly changed. I had thought to myself that maybe the people living there were just going through the process of moving, thus the for sale sign. But we knew that something just wasn't right. Though as long as it had nothing to do with us and wasn't affecting us negatively, we were content to ignore it. That was, until the staring started. On the morning after that first instance, I was walking around the house and groaning like a ghost. I was completely fried mentally, and even the slightest beam of sunlight that licked my face through an open window or whatnot gave me a dull chill that dripped down the back of my neck like a bead of sweat. I did not do all-nighters well, but I sure as hell couldn't sleep after what I had witnessed. I did not want to tell my wife right away, so I did not. What could I have said? Oh yeah, honey, you know that almost non-existent neighbor of ours? Yeah, well, he was staring at me, and he just wouldn't stop over the course of the entire night. Would she have even believed me? I sure didn't seem to think so then. That morning, we separately headed off to work, and later that night, when we both had come home, once again, the same thing happened. My wife had just fallen asleep, and I was going up to the window to close the curtains when you-know-who emerged, going right up to the glass of his window. His eyes, still sharp as a sewing needle, were once again fixed onto me. Only this time, my fatigue brought on a sense of intensity that made it seem as though the air around me had gotten heavier. I found it hard to breathe, which got me frustrated. Being in a filterless mindset, I had decided that I was going to settle this. I needed some sleep, and I was going to put an end to this, one way or another. In a cranky sort of anger, I bounded down the stairs, my tired limbs jerking around with each hit of my body weight on the steps. My head was tilted to the side, while I was almost in a state of trance, trying to stay awake and keep my eyelids open. Moving briskly across the cool grass of my lawn, and then the gravel of the lane between our homes, my bare feet felt numb. It felt as though pellet-sized rocks were stinging my feet, while actual rocks poked my heels. Finally, on their property, I went through the only opening in the hedge, the area leading to the front door. For the first time, I noticed this house was very, very beat up. I didn't know how this didn't register to me before, even though I had somehow interpreted it as obviously lived in. There was no way, looking at the front of this house, that anybody lived there. There was nothing but darkness behind the cracked windows, and the standard white paint was chipping. I was so taken aback by this sight that I actually rubbed my tired eyes, though what they were seeing was very much correct. Annoyed, I went up to the front door and gave a slight push. The door swung open, as though the hinges had been worn intensely. Looking inside, despite the darkness that the windows showed, was a home full of life, furnished in the look of the 70s. I went inside, closing the door behind me. Things would be much different now if I hadn't. I wandered around inside for what seemed like hours, not finding anyone. Not the man with the circular-rimmed glasses and red flannel. Not a soul. Confused, eventually I gave up. I went to the front doorknob and gave it a twist, bumping the door with my shoulder to open it. The door didn't open. I could turn the knob, but the door wouldn't give. I tried hitting it, which turned to kicking it, which turned to ramming into it with all my force, and still, nothing. I tried the back door. Nothing. I tried breaking the windows. Nothing. When was the last time you felt panic? Like, pure panic. The fight-or-flight type. I tried every possible way to get out, but couldn't. I ran across the orangey-red carpet, back and forth, bumping into walls, my mind in a blur. Eventually, I gave up on trying to get out. On that next morning, my wife looked everywhere for me, but couldn't find me. I saw her running around the house through the bedroom window. She knew my car was still there, so I hadn't driven anywhere. She noticed, however, that the front door was unlocked, hinting that I had went somewhere. I never got out of the house. I'm still there. I was reported missing and searched for. After a few months, my wife moved out. I haven't heard from her since. During the search effort, I had a few people venture into this house, but they couldn't see me. They walked right through me, for damned sake. The first time that happened, I threw up. One walked through the puddle, and it didn't track. It wasn't there for them. The people that came, they were able to leave. I still wasn't. The times that the door was opened, it was like it was still closed. I was pushing up against a wall-like force, while they were simply able to walk through the doorway. I'm stuck here. I can't sleep, and I can't talk to anyone. All I can do is watch things through the windows. Spectate as the world goes by. I've learned to live with it. Well, maybe not live, but deal with it. Do you remember when I said my name was Craven James Oliver, or KJ? Well, I don't go by that anymore. Nowadays, I just call myself a gentleman. And guess what? I noticed something very exciting yesterday, and it warms my heart. There's a new couple moving in next door.